Let's get nice and comfortable. Always beginning with this very simple, balanced, seated posture. Ping Tso. I have a video about this called, I think, Quiet Sitting, if you feel like checking it out on the channel, and it's describing this process of exhaling to soften, inhaling to deepen stillness. As you exhale, soften your whole body. You release your neck so that your head floats up, your shoulders soften, releasing long around your torso. Your chest empties of any holding pattern so that chi naturally sinks to your belly. Your upper back opens, your shoulder blades release down your upper back. Your lower back softens so that it's no longer gripping, allowing your tailbone to settle comfortably down. The weight rests just in front of the sitting bones so that your legs can be released, gently flexing forward from this joint so that your spine can remain comfortable and straight. The neck remains long, the head released upward toward the sky. Lots of wind. Deer are walking by right here. You can't see it, but we have at least one, probably more, herds and families of deer that live on the land and pass through. They're hanging out outside. I think unless they're relevant to the process, we can save them to the end. But you are the comment master, so I leave it to your great wisdom. Once you feel soft and open, let's go ahead and begin. And if there's anybody in the comment section that has not sounded off, please do so. We can't see that you're here unless you say something. And also, if you are new to this practice, please do let us know so I can include greater detail as we practice. Not everybody's starting from the beginning, of course. So I'm going to take my headphones off here. Get your hands nice and warm. If you have to, you can hold your tea until your hands heat up. Do not touch your body with cold hands. And then, keeping your shoulders soft, allowing your hands to rest on top of your head. Gently circling. Again, most of these are 36 times in both directions. When Master ZhiCheng is leading this set, on paper at least, there are many more repetitions, often 100. And so feel free to do more if it feels as though it's especially opening or helpful. But please do remain gentle, a delicate, warming touch. Just a reminder to keep your shoulders soft as you lift your hand. To continue until that sense of glowing warmth releases from your tissues, especially that point right at the top of the spine, thoracic spine, base of your neck. And as a reminder, if you are currently experiencing COVID, perhaps you're experiencing a slight feverish and your skin is very delicate, uncomfortable to the touch. So you wouldn't want necessarily to rub your skin until it feels hot. You probably already have the experience. So please be extra careful. And I have not mentioned it in a while, but if you're wearing glasses, you might want to remove your glasses before doing this movement. But the same is true of a lot of jewelry. If you have cold rings on or pressing things against your skin, or if you're wearing uncomfortable things, it's worth taking them off to make it easier to do this practice.
Oh, people are saying you can't hear.
It's because I wasn't saying anything. Unless you saw my mouth moving, but I wasn't saying anything. I'm going to leave these off. I'm assuming at this point most of you know this set, and so I'm just going to keep moving. Please let me know if you have questions as we continue. I'm hoping that you can hear me now. And for Mags or anybody else that couldn't hear me before, the thing I was talking about was simply a reminder to remove some of your jewelry. If you're going to rub your ears, take some of your earrings out so you don't damage yourself. If you're wearing thick rings or bracelets that are banging around or cold, take them off. And if you're wearing glasses, don't put your hands on top of your glasses to do the movement. You'd be surprised that some people will do that kind of thing. Still warm. Beautiful day up here. Last night was the coldest day of the year, and in fact, the coldest temperature that I've experienced since being in Washington. Quite chilly. think it was 6 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's nice to be inside where it's warm, feeling heat radiating from these areas in my body. And let me know, Mags or anybody else, if you can't hear me. So let's begin softening open out through the arms. Remember what I was talking about before with the direction to release the shoulders, as well as how to soften open to allow the breath to perfuse and fill that space. Not because you are pulling in, pushing on your breath, but instead because you are letting go of your breath, letting go of your mind. Softening and warming all the way around the shoulder without adding tension to the other shoulder, please. I thought that today we could emphasize this softening and quieting of the mind, a letting go around the breath, letting go of the body. This quality of stillness that arises because we allow things to open and settle. Not because we hold things still, but stillness as a quality from being completely free. Absolutely. So the question was about if it's okay to hold your elbow when you do this, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, it might even be recommended if you're having trouble softening your shoulder. Eventually, the shoulder blade just falls down the back and your hand comes up effortlessly. It just happens on its own. And that's for all of the practices that we do. This softening of the shoulders, releasing of the chest, allows the arms to just move up effortlessly because the movement is traveling around. But until then, if you're finding that this kind of thing is excessively difficult, please always feel free to make adjustments. As long as, in your own estimation, they're moving you closer toward this softening, warming quality that we're trying to develop. Always adjust in whatever way that you need to. Follow your intuition and your own sense of best practices. Since I'm not there, you are your best teacher. You are always your best teacher. You are the one that knows what it's like to be you. Never let anybody tell you how to best be you, except for me. Just kidding. Softening the whole of the upper arm. And again, if this is easier, please feel free to find a way to work this out. You may also find it easier if you're lying on your back so that the weight of your arm helps release downward. Softening along the elbow. Emphasizing that movement toward the fingertips. Again, you can use your palm or your fingertips to work this point if you'd like. As well as the points a bit lower. As you let go, get a sense of the tissues beneath your fingers, inside your body. Can you feel how perhaps they've had the tendency to grip or to bunch up? And this is very common in this area, so much so that people often just have a surgeon go in there and cut open and cut away the protective binding because we're so swollen and tight inside here. And so by softening this line, by learning to let go, this can be very helpful for any kind of pain through the wrist. Just a reminder to allow your mind to settle and be quiet as much as you're able, to release around your breath, to let go of your posture. For those of you with pain at the base of your thumb, and again, if you have breast tissue that needs a bit extra relieving or help circulating, please feel free to include that here. There's a lot of lymphatic tissue, a lot of lines of circulation that can often use the help either of physical movement or of this simple warming, stimulating release. Doing a little bit of this every day makes a tremendous difference. Oh, and again, as a reminder, if this is helpful for you to help you soften your shoulder, feel free to do it using that other hand. And this is true for all of the movements. Warm and soft. Emphasizing the quieting of the mind, softening around the breath. In case you missed it yesterday, the entire class was based around the breath and letting go, allowing that to continue to come to fruition as your mind is quiet, present. Your whole heart is gentle, loving. That's the state within which our tissues start to let go. Create a safe space. Similarly, if you find that your arm is getting tired because you are softening it in one particular movement or direction, feel free to use different parts of your hands. You might find that it allows you to relax whatever you were overusing before. Very often it is our own tension getting in our own way, which is why it's so exhausting. The more you relax, the easier everything becomes. Lots of beautiful animals moving around. None more lovely than the Melanie sitting in the background. Graceful to watch. When I was very young, I had experienced a lifetime of incredible anxiety and panic attacks, which, as a performing jazz musician, wasn't the best thing for me. And I was fortunate enough to be near an amateur acupuncturist who gave me some suggestions about points I could push. And one of the very simple exercises he gave to this young teenager was to do gentle acupressure on these points here. The heart channel, for those who know, heart 5, 6, and 7. And I would spend every day gently massaging them. Probably I was doing it too hard. He didn't really give good instructions, but I was a kid. But I do remember how much they helped me. Calming that sense of floating anxiety, easing this constant panic attack waiting to happen. So often, if you find points that are very calming and nourishing for you, go back to them often. You might find that they are very balancing for your system. Pressing in. And for those with that base thumb pain, and then gently circulating around.
Can you show us how you find stuff?
Absolutely. And then closing. Again, allowing everything to settle down in your system. Releasing down behind the navel. Soft and easy. So the question was about how to find heart 4, 5, 6, and 7 here on this little channel, but just in this little few centimeters of space here, 2 tsun, body inches. So if you were to fold your wrist, they're in the first point, heart 7 is in this wrist crease here in a soft space beneath the wrist. And if you were to pull your small finger in, the pinky finger in towards your palm, there is a tendon here that engages that just along the outside here. So if you're doing acupuncture or acupressure locally, you would go just on the inside of that small tendon, on the small finger side of the wrist. And there's a very delicate line in there. You can feel a space if you run your finger up through it. And those points are right in that line. And so you can very gently engage with them. Again, especially with something like the heart channel or channels like the gallbladder channel that are very reactive or delicate, you want to stimulate the point to connect with them, but you don't have to push hard. That doesn't make it better. All it does is stop the flow of circulation. More is not better. Releasing down. And if that's too difficult to find, of course, I highly recommend just doing a search on search engine or the powerful YouTube, the Oracle. And there's lots of acupuncture students helping you find these points. I hope that helps.
He said, thank you very much.
Moved the heater closer to the mill. It's a very chilly day. This is a brand new room. We just built it. This was an open deck last year at this time. Still have to finish the doors somewhat and put curtains on and things to keep it a bit warmer in here. But it's nice to have a space to practice like this. And again, if I can put a plug in for sending gratitude or thanks to Master ZhiCheng or Shokozama, I always have links down in the comment sections of these. All of this stuff, this whole space is built on donations. And so as much as you can support them, they are very worthwhile supporting. And then warming the sternum. And if you have breast tenderness or local swellings, of course, spend a little time relieving those lines of tension. You might find that if you move this way across the sternum with your fingertips into your ribs, because the muscles hold across this way and a lot of the glands move in this direction, you might find it comfortable to relieve it in this direction or across the top of the breast. And then softening solar plexus. Yesterday, I also spoke quite a lot about how specific areas of the body tend to be impacted by certain kinds of emotions. It's as though the emotions collect in the tissues there. And areas like this, and all around the waist, for instance, the top of the shoulders, the jaw, those gallbladder channels I talked about, certain areas respond, for instance, to anger or frustration rage if it's an actual poison in your body. And so the counteracting direction for that emotional energy, the opposite, is kindness, generosity. This unconditional friendliness. So if you can cultivate that as you actively release these areas, it heals more than just the local tissue and softens that area, but it heals the quality within you that is tightening and gripping and damaging this space in the first place. Those two mental emotional experiences cannot exist at the same place at the same time. A little compassion goes a long way. For the digestion, quieting the mind. This quality of constancy and settled trustworthiness, that human quality. These are very good for counteracting the obsessive worry, the rumination cycles, overthinking that tends to damage digestion in this area. So we slow the mind, we steady it. Gentle, friendly cultivation. Quiet, steady awareness. It is the warmth of kindness that allows your body to open like a flower to the sun. And then warming that line all the way across the level of the navel. With every movement, you are generating greater softness in your hands. As your hands slowly soften, that of course is good for your hands and your arms, but also that softness communicates with your body. You'd also be surprised how it communicates to the people around you as well. Also, circling your hands around your navel. Allow your awareness to rest inside, as though your palms were shining a light into your abdomen. Your awareness simply following around, watching how things shift and change inside your body. This cultivation of awareness of what's going on inside your body is a very important foundation for all further practice in Qigong. Both directions. Spiraling inward. Sense of warmth and softness and ease soaking into the space behind the navel. If you can't feel the space inside your body yet, this middle Dantian space that is so important, perhaps just feel the navel or a little bit deep to the navel. Or if you can also try feeling the Mingmen, the point on the spine opposite the navel. Sometimes those points, the navel and the spine, begin to communicate, and it helps it become a little bit easier to move your awareness inside. You can think of this area as part of your deep life battery that you're charging, and this time of year is the best time to do it. Like sleeping in the middle of the night, sleep at that time gives you deeper rest than it does if you sleep at noon. Collecting and resting and gathering qi into this area and into the kidneys during this time of year is more impactful than at other times. So you want to take your opportunity while you can. I think we only have a few weeks left of this year until the spring starts. And then we'll slightly change our movements. When you're ready, hands sliding around the lower back, warming the lower back. Keeping your shoulders soft, using whatever part of the hand is easiest for you. Those circles around the belly are not only nourishing for the kidneys and for the dantian, the organs, but they are also part of a larger set that is designed to, shall we say, keep you feeling settled in the midst of crowds of people, or to keep you feeling balanced and safe if you're in the clinic working with people. And we have the tendency of gathering illnesses from the people that we're treating. And so by doing something like these circles, there's a series of them, it helps to center and ground us to keep us safe from ourselves, but also feeling settled in the midst of chaotic energy. And so it really is worth taking the time to add those circles to your daily life. Also moving up and down alongside those areas we were working, up and down the spine, emphasizing the upward direction, warming that Mingmen point. And then warming the tailbone from the Mingwen all the way down so that your middle fingers touch the tip of your tailbone, preferably under your clothing to help warm that space. Avoid doing this, or this, or this. Let your body settle and be soft. Do your best to keep all of that openness that you've been developing and allow this to become part of that opening. I highly recommend the use of warming pads, hot pads for your belly, for your back, for your knees and your feet in these times of chilliness, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And then easing the musculature of the glutes just below the level of the iliac crest here. You might find some places alongside the tailbone that are tight and gripping, depending on your posture, or depending how you're sitting. And then as well, gallbladder 30, center of the buttock area. Closing. Everything sinks down. Let go of your shoulders, your arms, your chest, your upper back, your belly. Again, your awareness sinks inside. If your mind wanders off, simply release the distraction. Let it come back to the present moment. Be effortless. And when you're ready, you feel settled, softening the sides of your hips. In the same way that, for instance, we would create this gentle softening along the sides of the legs until there's a sense of warmth and more ease in that area, or anywhere in the body. I am saying 36 times, but it can be as many as you like. And again, on the paper that Master ZhiCheng might hand out, it might say 100 times in both directions. And so feel free to add as many as you like. We simply have to cut things down so that we can fit in this 90-minute space, and so people's arms don't become exhausted. But in the same way that you would continue with this until the correct moment happened, when you were done with the movement, you want to do the same thing when you've done closing and you're meditating. You stay in that settled position until you have a sense of settling. Extra quiet comes in. Your breath perhaps gets a little bit easier. Some shift that lets you know that things went like this into that space. Cultivating that skill is very important. The ability to go from yin to yang, from qi flowing and expressing outward to qi resting quietly inside. The ability to go from fully awake to deeply asleep. These kinds of cycles. This is how health happens. Easing that place behind the knees. You take your time. Stomach 36, top of the leg. Again, try not to crouch forward, but instead folding from your hips. At least 36 times in both directions. If you'd like to, you can work spleen 9 at the same time at the top, the inside of the leg. Gently warming, tending to encourage the movement down toward the feet. Gallbladder 34 on the outside. Again, you can mix it with your thumb on the inside if you'd like. We're continuing to keep your shoulders soft, your back relaxed. Feel free to adjust your posture in any way to make it easier to reach these points. You can certainly do them one leg at a time if that's more comfortable. Always taking your time. Notice that my back stays soft, my neck stays long, my shoulders stay settled behind. Very gentle movements through the hips. And I've been enjoying doing extra of these because I like them so much. You could always do less and more of another one if you'd like. But they are very good for my knees. Keep your hands soft. Continue to communicate softness and warmth. Raking your fingers up, not pushing too hard, just enough to stimulate that tissue beneath the skin. Probably can't quite see it at all, but there's a gorgeous snow-covered mountain in the backdrop. The ravens have been circling very happily today. Earlier, the bald eagles were out. Small little bouncing birds everywhere, playing in the snow. Softening from the center of your calf, down the Achilles to the heel, relieving that musculature alongside the tibia, taking your time. You can always do them one at a time as well if that's more comfortable. Warming the line from spleen 6 around the ankle, kidney 6, kidney 3, warming the very bottom of the foot, side of the foot, top of the foot between the tendons. Gently softening open that point, Bladder 57 in the center of the calf. If you find that it's gently move around and release all the way down to the heel. Even people with knee pain, consistent knee pain, will find that if they soften the calf, soften the back along this line, very often their knee pain is much relieved. So take the time to ease this area open. And similarly, this line, the anterior tibialis here, the stomach channel line, by softening here, many people with knee pain, even ankle pain, can find that this line is much relieved. Simply by warming and easing it with your fingers. Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh no, that's why it's so cold. Okay. We have another one in there we can grab. It's always the chilly days you discover which heaters work well and which ones don't. Softening your whole calf. If you find that it's tight and gripped upward, just help relieve that line of tension. Allow things to open. 2 layers of calf muscle here. Spleen 6 all the way around the ankle. Continue until this area feels toasty and warm, emphasizing the movement down toward the feet. And then just continue that movement all the way down from the top to the bottom. Melanie is currently surrounded and swathed with blankets and cushions with 2 heaters on either side. Sweeping down the legs, only as far as it feels comfortable to reach. If you're doing this while seated on the ground, simply open your legs. Again, we're not trying to stretch in the sense of feeling a stretch where the body pulls back. We're continuing this process of warming and relieving the tissues, not straining them. Encourage your body to open, down the outside and back, up the inside and front. If this is uncomfortable for your lower back, feel free to stop or find a different way to do it. Eventually, it will become easy. And then rotating your feet, your knees, your hips. Full circles with your ankles. Doing this 36 times in both directions as well. You can always do more or fewer. This is a great one to do if you're lying in bed before you get up in the morning. Circling your feet, get things warm and open. I also recommend doing this one. I will imitate the movement in my feet with my hands. So I'm going to touch my big toe toward the ground, touch my little toe toward the ground, so that your feet are doing this. You don't have to have your feet on the ground. You could do this while your feet are in the air as well. It's more about getting your feet to move like this. And very commonly, people who have allowed their feet to become very weak or cold, their feet will start to spasm or feel sore. So please stop before that happens. There's no virtue in the pain. We're just letting our feet wake up, become a little bit stronger, a little bit more like the ability to grip with your hands. And so in fact, the next one is this motion, that your toes spread and open, and then turn and grip, and the bottom of your foot also hollows as it closes. You might find that certain toes or parts of your feet are just asleep and don't move. So we want to redevelop them. So when you're lying in bed before you wake up in the morning, you can circle your feet, you can move your feet like this, you can grip with your toes. It can also be nice if you warm those same areas that we were using with our hands, but you can use your feet. And this can be a wonderful way to wake up. You're lying in bed, you annoy your partner until they wake up. So you start scrubbing your feet until they're nice and warm and they feel alive the way your hands feel alive when we scrub them like this. Before you put your feet on the floor, allow that warmth and life to come into your feet, then get out of bed. This is also very nourishing for the kidney chi. Highly recommended. Put my shoes back on because the floor is cold. So then, getting nice and soft. We've been including some movement of the teeth, the tongue, the jaw, saliva, and so we'll include that again. And again, because it's awkward to talk while I'm doing this, I'll just give you instruction first. So the first thing to do is to click your teeth together. We can do it 18 times, 36 times. If your gums and teeth are delicate, please simply touch your teeth together and press them, trying to wake up the gums, create pressure waves above these areas. And then after doing that for a little while, we will softly lengthen our throat, opening our jaw, sticking out our tongue, opening the eyes wide. And when we do that, please do not tighten your face, tighten your throat, because we spent all of this time softening this area. Find a way instead to use it the way we are pulling on our fingers. We're just lengthening the tissues here. Don't add tension. We'll click our tongue, let our tongue lengthen out. Click our tongue on the roof of our mouth, let our tongue lengthen out. perhaps 9 times or fewer if that starts to feel tired. Slowly we'll increase the repetitions, but please be careful to not undo all of the work you've been doing to soften. And the last one, we will circle our tongue around our teeth, outside our teeth, 9 times in both directions, and then 9 times along the inside of the teeth and gum line, 9 times. Then gather the saliva, swallow it, follow that movement down to the level of the navel. Take your time when you settle. I'll take these off. After you swallow the saliva down, pausing for a moment. If you'd like to lie flat on the floor, feel free to do that. If you're sitting, become aware of the whole body, similarly to where we began. Allowing your mind to become quiet, your breath to be easy, and moves on its own into the open places. Our tissues warm and released. Gentle and comfortable. Cultivating stillness. If you're lying down, feel free to move your fingers and toes a bit, roll onto your side, and then sit up. Take your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know we have a few already waiting. Oh, okay. Didn't you say there were some in the beginning? Oh, great.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. So, one question is it okay to use some sort of oil for this?
Oh, so the question is about whether or not we can use oil for this practice. And in general, yes, I think it's okay. There are wonderful medicinal oils, some that are warming, some that are cooling, moving, gathering. So you'd want to make sure you're using the right kind of oil. If you're just using a kind of vegetable oil, then I would question if you're trying to massage, you're trying to run and push hard so that you require oil for lubricant for the skin because you're pushing hard and it irritates it, which is why, of course, most massage therapists will use an oil or a cream. And so if you're using it because you're putting too much force into the body, then please stop. And instead just have this very gentle touch for which you shouldn't require lubrication. If you're using medicinal warming oils like Chinese herbal oil called pulsaman, which is a gentle warming, moving, smells nice oil, you can put that on your hands and you can put that onto your shoulders and gently warm and soften them, certain places in your legs. But that wouldn't be appropriate for this whole set because then you'd have oil in your hands where you're trying to rub your eyes and do these different things. And so I would say in general, a lot of Chinese medicinal herbal oils can be great for the body to help it soften and open. And at the same time, it might not be compatible for this set because we touch a lot of different areas in the body that need different kinds of treatment. And so I'd caution against it as a rule, unless you really have a sense of what you're doing, but not in your general daily life. The medicinal oils can be wonderful outside of the set because you can just put them on and leave them and walk away.
You have a comment from Steph. I really enjoyed the stillness / silence tonight. It really helped me focus on my body. I noticed that counting took me in my head and away from the sensations. So I stopped doing that.
Great. So Steph is mentioning that she really enjoyed the extra stillness and that trying to do counting tends to take you away, in which case then just happily follow me, look up once in a while and see if I've changed directions, or even better yet, forget the counting entirely and just do the movement until it feels like you're done. And that's really the best way. The counting, except for some people who love numerology and that side of the practice, the counting is more a way to make sure that we're staying in the time period. But for most people, especially if you're practicing on your own, you'll ignore that and work with it. One of the big differences between the Buddhist and Taoist teachers I've had in my lifetime is that Buddhism tends to focus on everyone doing the same thing, following this thing. Someone rings the chime, you do the thing. Someone rings the chime, you stop doing the thing. And you're following this very set order. And it's a way to relieve yourself of your need to focus on your sense of self, which can be good. But within Taoism, we are learning to listen and to pay attention to what's happening. And so if you get a bunch of Taoists in a room practicing together, everybody's doing something different. You're just lucky enough to have them all in the same room at the same time. So you really want to learn to listen. And so you're like, oh, now it's time for a nap. So you have someone napping in the corner, which really happens here. Another person is vigorously working on something. Another person is quietly playing an instrument in the corner, or somebody's doing calligraphy. You find what is needed for yourself in that moment and listen to the change. And so as I was telling somebody else the other day, when you're cooking, if you're cooking vegetables, When is the vegetable done being cooked? It's done when it's done. It's not, oh, I have to leave it on here because it's supposed to be in here for 30 more seconds. If it's done, you take it out, or ideally just before it's done. And that's the same with our practice. We learn to listen for the right moment, which is why I'm constantly telling you what you're looking for. So you wait for that change, and then you're done. And sometimes that takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter. And so I'm glad that you're getting out of your head.